Austria, Czechoslovakia, Poland, Denmark, Norway. Hitler kept getting away with it. Why? Because Nazi Germany was too strong? Because his enemies were too weak? Well, yes, but there's a more fundamental reason. Britain and France were just sitting around. Germany's seemingly unstoppable successes mistakenly convinced Hitler that he was, in fact, mighty enough to properly invade France. France, along with Britain, was the legacy imperialist that still projected power across the globe. An invasion of France meant a full-blown fight to the death with Britain. Unlike Germany's previous opponents, Hitler can't just steamroll such a superpower, right? The harshest slap in the face for Hitler was a sobering reality that there simply wasn't a plan in place to invade France. He double-teamed Poland with the Soviet Union, Norway was overrun with doom drops, but he couldn't possibly expect another cheese build to work against France. I mean, France and Germany have shared a border for a long time and were paranoid as fuck about each other. Remember Napoleon? The Franco-Prussian War? Hell, World War I? These countries have been mortal enemies for over 100 years. They've already tried literally every single tactic that they could think of to kill the other one off. None of them worked, and Germany was simply out of ideas. To be fair, geography was always the wet blanket smothering both sides. If Germany wanted to invade France, well, there's really only one route it could take. Here, the coastal lowlands occupied by the Netherlands and Belgium. The plains here were essentially a spacious highway connecting northern Germany straight to northern France. Germany already tried to use this coastal area as the main route of attack during its Schlieffen Plan in World War I. It had dreams, of using its primary forces to decimate the French in Belgium, then flank them with a counterclockwise maneuver, blah blah blah. It all went to shit, and everybody got cock-blocked by trench warfare. A few decades may have passed, but the geography hasn't changed. All the big brain war plans drawn up by Hitler's top generals were basically the Schlieffen Plan Season 2. To make matters worse, the French have been building up a giant, complicated, unprecedented line of defense across the Belgian border since World War I. This is the famous Maginot Line. France, ironically, won World War I, but ended up worse off than Germany itself. Just thinking of another invasion into its territory was enough to give everybody in France a PTSD panic attack, which is why the French went all in on defense, building up an impenetrable bastion. Germany wasn't stupid. Just yeeting soldiers into this meat grinder would absolutely result in disaster. No, it needed a plan that was completely unexpected and so insane that it might actually work. The reason why Hitler could just impulse invade countries without much thought and, not die, was because every stupid crisis was an opportunity for his brilliant officers to pop up from mediocrity and save the day with some creative, genius solution. This time, a now legendary man named Erich von Manstein came up with a revolutionary master plan known as the Sickle Cut to crack open the stalemate. Here's how the Sickle Cut worked. First, Germany's forces were divided into 3 groups, A, B, and C. The primary thrust would happen with Group B in the north through Belgium. It's the same as the Schlieffen Plan up until now, but here's the twist. Group B is literally just bait. When the Allies gleefully concentrate their forces to the north to pounce on stupid Group B, the trap springs into action. Group A has been preparing for this exact moment from the border regions of Luxembourg. While Group B entangles the Allies and buys precious time, Group A quickly pierces through the now relatively empty southern defense line and flanks the enemy, surrounding and eviscerating the Allied forces. Finally, Group C carefully moves through the last Lorraine regions to protect Group A's ass from getting flanked themselves. This plan, essentially, was a big brain idea with the Germans expecting the French to expect the Germans to come through Belgium. The Sickle Cut sure sounded more creative than any other proposals, and it could, in theory, just mow down the primary Allied forces like a literal sickle. Well, in theory anyway. The Sickle Cut was creative and unexpected for sure, but it was a bit too crazy for even the German leadership. Like, what if the French don't fall for the bait and keep shooting? Then what? There were just too many variables for it to be taken seriously. Hell, the whole thing hinges on Group A being able to pierce deep into enemy territory before they have a chance to react, and that's just not very trench warfare of you. Group A was supposed to charge straight through a region called Ardennes, a cancerous border region with dense forests, bullshit levels of elevation, and even a fucking river to cross at the end. It was a natural fortress because there's no way that a massive army would be stupid enough to try to go through such hazardous terrain, right? Tanks are obviously necessary for such a plan based purely on mobility, yeah? But how are you going to move giant columns of tanks through a cancer forest and across a river? Okay, tanks back then were rare and expensive as shit strategic equipment. What happens if you concentrate them all in a dense forest and, God forbid, somehow you get surrounded by guys and trees with anti-tank weapons? You're fucked! The war's over! No, this ridiculous plan is too much of a gamble, and that's the end of the discussion. Well, as the German leadership was hemming and hawing about how Erich von Manstein needs to get an IQ test, something completely unexpected happened. A German aircraft was captured by the Allies in Belgium, but inconveniently enough, this aircraft was carrying pretty much all of the invasion plans except for the crazy Sickle Cut because that one was too unrealistic to be taken seriously. Well, fuck. I guess we gotta scrap all of those, and the only plan left is the goddamn Sickle Cut Gambit. The genius that stepped up to carry out this insane task was Heinz Guderian, the infamous father of the Blitzkrieg. Yup, the tank, previously used as a support vehicle for infantry, was going to be the backbone of his offensive. Heinz Guderian already proved his competence during the invasion of Poland by creating a whole new meta of war called mobility warfare with his feared armored brigades. There was no turning back now, and Heinz revved up his tanks to break through the impossible Ardennes. The fateful day arrived on May 10th of 1940. Guderian led Group A through the Ardennes, only to realize with absolute horror that everything went wrong. A massive army made up of 45 divisions was trying to cross a hazardous forest in the pitch black of night, and they really should have planned for the inevitable. A goddamn traffic jam. Tank and infantry columns were getting all mixed up, a few vehicles were breaking down, and worst of all, they were stuck. If the Allies caught them here, they were all going to fucking die! This has been David Bradford from Knowledge Raiders, and stay tuned for the next episode of our World War II series.